In the bustling heart of New York City, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds like ambitious dreams, Alexander Harrington stood as a titan of industry. At 45, he was the CEO of Harrington Tech, a multi-million-dollar empire built on innovative software that revolutionized global communications. His life was a whirlwind of board meetings, private jets, and lavish galas, but beneath the polished facade of success lay a void that no amount of wealth could fill. It had been 5 years since his wife, Elena, had passed away from a sudden illness, leaving him shattered and alone. They had dreamed of a family, but fate had cruelly denied them that joy. Alexander visited her grave every year on their anniversary, a ritual that brought both solace and searing pain. Little did he know, this year's visit would unravel his world in ways he could never have imagined. The cemetery was a quiet oasis amid the urban chaos, with rows of headstones standing like silent sentinels under a canopy of autumn leaves. Alexander arrived in his sleek black limo, dressed in a tailored suit that screamed power, but his eyes held the weariness of a man haunted by loss. He carried a bouquet of white lilies, Elena's favorite, and knelt before her marble gravestone, tracing the engraved words with trembling fingers, "Elena Harrington, beloved wife, forever in our hearts." Tears welled up as he whispered apologies for the life they never fully lived. But as he bowed his head, a soft sobbing pierced the silence. Not far away, 3 small figures huddled together in front of the grave, their tiny shoulders shaking with grief. They were triplets, no older than 7, with identical curly brown hair and wide, tear-streaked eyes that mirrored Elena's in a way that stopped Alexander's heart. 2 boys and a girl, dressed in mismatched clothes that spoke of hardship, faded jeans, worn sneakers, and coats too thin for the chilly wind. The girl clutched a crumpled drawing in her hand, while the boys held each other's hands tightly, as if afraid the world might pull them apart. Alexander froze, his mind racing. Who were these children? Why were they here, crying at his wife's grave? He approached slowly, his polished shoes crunching on the gravel path, and cleared his throat gently. "Hey there, kids. Are you okay? This was my wife's grave. Did you know her?" The triplets turned to him, their faces a mix of fear and desperation. The girl, who seemed to be the spokesperson, wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve and looked up at him with an intensity that belied her age. "She was our mommy," she said, her voice breaking. The boys nodded solemnly, echoing her words in unison, "Our mommy." Alexander's world tilted. 3 words, "she was our mommy," hit him like a thunderbolt. He staggered back, his knees buckling as he collapsed beside them. Tears streamed down his face, hot and unrelenting, as memories flooded back. Elena had been his everything, but their marriage had been strained in the final years by his relentless work schedule. Could it be? No, it was impossible. They had tried for children, but doctors had said it wasn't meant to be. Yet here were these 3 little ones, claiming her as their mother. As the initial shock subsided, Alexander gathered himself and sat with them on the damp grass, ignoring the ruin of his expensive suit. "Tell me everything," he urged softly, his voice thick with emotion. The girl, whose name was Lily, explained in halting sentences. Their names were Lily, Lucas, and Liam, triplets born in secret 7 years ago. Elena had discovered she was pregnant just months before her diagnosis, but fearing Alexander's reaction amid his rising career, she had hidden it from him. In a moment of desperation, she had confided in her estranged sister, who lived in a small town upstate. When Elena's health deteriorated rapidly, she had arranged for the triplets to be raised by her sister, swearing her to secrecy to protect Alexander from the pain of losing not just her, but a family he might not be ready for. But the sister had fallen on hard times, addiction and financial ruin, and had abandoned the children at a foster home just weeks ago. The triplets, hearing stories of their real mommy from whispered tales, had run away and hitchhiked to the city, using a faded photo and the grave's location scribbled on an old letter to find her resting place. Alexander's heart ached as he listened. How could he have been so blind? Elena's late-night calls to her sister, her unexplained trips, the sadness in her eyes that he attributed only to her illness, it all clicked into place. He cried openly now, not the controlled tears of a CEO, but the raw sobs of a father awakening to his loss. The children, sensing his genuine grief, scooted closer. Lily placed her small hand on his. "Don't cry, mister. Mommy said you'd find us one day." Lucas added, "She told Aunt we were special." Liam, the quietest, simply hugged Alexander's arm. In that moment, the millionaire's empire felt insignificant compared to the warmth of these three tiny souls. But the story was far from over. Alexander couldn't just walk away. He called his assistant to arrange immediate care, warm clothes, food, and a safe place at his penthouse while he sorted the legalities. As they drove back to the city, the triplets marveled at the luxury, their eyes wide at the skyline view from his home. Yet challenges loomed like storm clouds. First, proving paternity. Alexander rushed DNA tests, his hands shaking as he awaited results that could confirm or shatter this miracle. The wait was agonizing, days filled with flashbacks to Elena's final moments, regrets over missed opportunities, and budding bonds with the children. Lily drew pictures of their new family, Lucas asked endless questions about Alexander's work, and Liam found comfort in simple hugs. When the results came back positive, Alexander wept again, this time with joy. They were his, Elena's final gift. Yet integration wasn't easy. The triplets carried scars from their unstable life. Lily's fierce independence masked deep insecurity, Lucas acted out with tantrums born of abandonment fears, and Liam's silence stemmed from trauma. Alexander, used to commanding boardrooms, struggled with parenthood. He hired therapists and nannies, but realized he needed to step back from his CEO duties. Board members balked at his sudden leaves, shareholders whispered about instability, and a rival company launched a hostile takeover bid, exploiting his vulnerability. Alexander faced his biggest challenge, balancing his empire with his family. Sleepless nights ensued, juggling conference calls with bedtime stories, mergers with school enrollments. One night, after a particularly grueling day where Lucas had a meltdown over a forgotten promise, Alexander sat on the floor, exhausted. "I don't know if I can do this," he admitted to the empty room. The turning point came during a family therapy session. The therapist encouraged open sharing, and Lily, with tears in her eyes, said, "We thought no one wanted us. But you came." Lucas chimed in, like a superhero. Liam whispered, "Love you, Dad." Those three words, "Love you, Dad," echoed the ones at the grave, breaking through Alexander's walls. He realized his wealth meant nothing without love. Resolving the corporate crisis, he delegated more to trusted executives, sold off non-essential assets to fund a foundation for orphan children, and prioritized his family. The takeover was thwarted when he rallied his team with a passionate speech about legacy, not in profits, but in people. Months turned into years, and the Harrington family flourished. Alexander scaled back his role, becoming a hands-on father. The triplets thrived, Lily pursued art, inspired by her mother's memory, Lucas channeled his energy into sports, Liam found his voice in music. They visited Elena's grave together now, not in sorrow, but in celebration, sharing stories and laughter. Alexander remarried eventually, to a kind woman who embraced the children as her own, but Elena's spirit remained the family's guiding light. As the sun set on their story, Alexander reflected on how three crying children had transformed a lonely millionaire into a fulfilled man. The inspiring message was clear: true wealth lies in the connections we nurture, the love we give, and the courage to embrace unexpected gifts. Life's greatest treasures often arrive in the midst of our deepest pain, reminding us that family isn't just blood, it's the heart's unbreakable bond.